So Trace Jackson-Davis plays 10 minutes and 35 seconds, and some people could argue that Trace Jackson in 2 of the last 3 games against the Pels and the Kings last night didn't play enough. But he was a minus 10. All right, minus 10. Klay Thompson didn't score. He was a minus 12. Andrew Wiggins a minus 25. Steph Curry minus 21. Draymond Green minus 22. I think we all agree that Kuminga helped stabilize the game in the second quarter alongside Moody. Kuminga was a minus 22 last night despite having 16 and 7. And I know there's more into it. He got off to a rocky start, Jonathan Kuminga, that is. But it just shows you how skewed the plus minus is. Klay Thompson has a better plus minus than Steph Curry last night, and Klay Thompson did hit a shot. The stats ridiculous.
I don't want
to hear like Podziemski had the best plus minus on the team. Does that mean he's the best player? No, it doesn't.
No, but like just the Klay, like yes, I thought about it being Klay's last game. There's no doubt about it, and he's talked a lot about his contract all year. I don't know whether they really offered.
I don't know if he's talked about it. People just asked him about it. I don't think he's.
Well, I mean, to start the playoffs last year, whether he did it, an agent, somebody. Wojnarowski.
Somebody leaked it. Somebody leaked it. Somebody put it. Somebody got out.
Like that's how the playoffs started.
Right? But that's not on Klay for not talking. Somebody got out there.
I didn't say it, but it's been a talking point, right? And so, like, I understand all that, and it's just
contracts are always a talking point.
But it's been back-to-back years because it was Klay this year, Draymond the year before.
How long have we been talking about Brandon Ayuk being paid? You know, how many years have we heard that? Oh, you can't keep Debo and Brandon Ayuk together. You got to have to pay one of them. We've been talking about that for 3 years now.
Yeah, but I don't think it affected Ayuk's play. I feel like a part of this. Yeah, I do believe it affected both Draymond and Klay's play. I do.
Here's Nick Wright. Nick Wright was cooking last night apparently on Warrior Spaces. You guys have it in here. I want to hear what Nick Wright has to say. Because I think he was defending Steve Kerr. There's been a lot of vitriol towards Steve Kerr over the last week or two, and people can disagree and say Steve Kerr's not a good coach. Hey, the guy helped you win 4 championships. Steve Kerr's he knows what he's doing. But when you look at the roster, what else is he supposed to do? It's tough to be perfect every single night when you have a bunch of players who are inconsistent. That's been a year. The one constant was Stephen Curry. Everything else was on the table. You didn't know what you were going to get from players on a day-by-day basis. But here's Nick Wright. Here is Nick Wright.
I do not think even close to the most important thing an NBA coach does is manage lineups. I actually think there are probably, especially on great teams, 2 or 3 far more important things. And on a team that has one of the most difficult to manage people who's mattered in a real way in NBA history in Draymond Green, and he has only gotten more erratic. Now, if a high school debate style, if I were going to argue with myself here, I would say, well, Nick, if he's such a great person manager, why has he not gotten his arms around Draymond Green? And, why is Draymond only seemingly getting worse instead of getting better? That, to me, the Draymond, escalating the nonsense, to me, is the biggest fair knock on Kerr and the organization.
Draymond Green. We haven't really got into him.
Don't wake the baby. That's what it felt like to me, because I've been in that. Yeah. Fonte will call me, and I'm like, hey, how are you doing? But go on, Draymond Green.
Yeah,
sorry.
No.
It was just funny. It reminded me of me.
The Draymond Green dynamic and what happened this year, what happened last year. And Draymond said, last year it was tough to come to work. Part of the reason why was because of the situation that he helped create with Jordan Poole. That's undeniable. We can't deny it any longer. That fractured the culture. It was bad. So now we come back this year, you bring in CP3, you remove Jordan Poole, and it seemed like the camaraderie was a lot better. It seemed like the chemistry was better, which was reasons why you win more games on the road, right? But he didn't get popped for 17 games. He didn't get ejected out of 4 other games. And when you think about him being on his team and being one of the more important players, especially defensively, that just can't happen. That just can't happen. So when you finish in 10th place and you try to pick apart all the reasons why you finished in 10th place, whether it was the 13 blown leads that you had, the 13 games in which you've blown a double-digit lead, which is second in the NBA. You're on the list with the Atlanta Hawks, San Antonio Spurs, and all the worst teams in the league. You go back to looking at Draymond Green saying, boy, could have used it in these games. And he said he personally grew and, it got better. And look, all that stuff overshadowed this play because you were not available for 17 games, really 18, due to self-inflicted wounds. That hurt this team in back-to-back seasons. So can we count on Draymond to play 70 games next season? I have no idea. I have no clue. Is his three-point shot going to get better? Is he going to be more aggressive offensively? Because they need more offensively on this team. Unfortunately,
his negative outweighs the positive for me. So? And it's been that way for a couple years. And I've been labeled as a Draymond hater. That's fine. People could label me that way.
They call me a Clay apologist. You think I give a damn?
That's fine.
You think I give a damn?
Well, no, I don't. I'm just giving you my perspective and my analysis based off watching every single night. And watching every single night, I think he's a loose cannon who brings more negative to the table than good. And when I look at the team as a whole, right now, I think that they need an entire cleanse when it comes to this roster and starting fresh. And I think the number one thing, whether it's Clay, Draymond, Andrew Wiggins going back a couple of years, the one thing I'd like to see them do this offseason, everything needs to start fresh. There is too much holding on to the past, just in general. And I get it because you owe on a lot of levels, you owe a lot to a lot of these guys. Believe me, I understand it. You're indebted. There are relationships. This is real life. These are real people. But this team needs to start fresh. If you were looking at form.
You think they will?
What?
Do you think they will?
No.
As of today, do you think Clay and Dre are back alongside Stephen Curry?
Probably. And you know what? Then we all better be ready for a pretty close to similar season this year.
Could be worse.
And I'll be real with you. I'd have a very difficult time spending that kind of money.
Well,
I mean, they spent $800 million in luxury tax the last 7 years.
I know.
That's an insane number.
That is very insane. It's unsustainable.
That's a stadium.
It's unsustainable.
You could build the stadium in Sacramento for the A's or Vegas or wherever the hell they're going for that much money.
When that happens, you have to hit on every pick. You have to hit on every veteran mid-level exception. You have to hit on everything. Around the margins, they were just not perfect. But you don't have that leeway.
But the other part is we could do that. And I know there are people well, Moody should have had some of Clay's minutes. Also, right? People do that, right? I would say, even bigger than that, which is the one-for-one swap in terms of minutes, to me, because of the big three, the tolerance level for the other young players was so minimized. Yeah. Forget swapping out the minutes. Just allowing normal growth for a player. Well, we allowed very little leeway.
Well, that was funny because last season, you and I were clamoring for the youngsters to play a lot more. We thought the youngsters, that's my laptop, you thought the youngsters should have played more last year. And they got singled out. They got singled out all last season. Unfairly. Starting with Jordan Poole, then James Wiseman, who was traded, then Moody Kuminga. We was watching Anthony Lamb and Ty Jerome, and people were defending that. And now this year, you needed some of the youngsters. They're just not ready to play at that level. And that's okay, because youngsters, which is why I'm so intrigued with OKC to see how far they go. How much does inexperience matter in the playoffs? We're about to find out. We're about to find out.
Keegan Murray is not the Keegan Murray you saw last night without all the run he got last year.
No doubt. Playing through the mistakes.
He was bad in the first couple of games in the playoffs last year and then started to turn it on in that series, even though he was a great rookie. I mean, he was a phenomenal rookie. Well, but the player I saw last night, how different did he look?
So he looked very different. So we're on the Draymond Green and Klay Thompson hype right now. We'll get to the calls in just a second. Here's Steve Kerr on whether or not they want Klay back.
We need Klay back. I mean, he's, I know he had a tough night tonight, but what he represents for us, the spacing, we're not a deep shooting team. We're a little top heavy. And, Klay's presence means so much to the spacing on the floor, to the flow of the offense. And he's still got good years left. And I know I speak for everybody in the organization. We want him back. Obviously, there's business at hand, and that has to be addressed with Klay's representatives and Mike and Joe. But what Klay has meant to this franchise, as good as he still is, we desperately want him back.
Curry, do you think he can still win with this current regime, with this current roster?
I'm talking to Mike and Coach and. This league, you never know, man. Like it's raw right now. Just sitting here, figuring out if I want to watch the playoffs or not. On April 16th, I guess this is unfamiliar territory. So even to answer that question, it's like I just want to win, and whatever that means, I want to win.
And he was asked whether or not if he believes they can win with just a little tweak here and there. He also said this:
I can never see myself, not with those two guys. I understand this league changes and there's so many things that go into it, and we're not gonna play forever, but we've experienced so much together, and at the end of the day, again, I know they want to win, I know I want to win, and that's all I'm worried about.
I'm a big believer in things have to pencil, meaning there has to be profit, Golden State spent $382 million on this year's team. $382 million. $205 for the salaries, $177 for the penalties.
Well, aren't there some other baked-in costs, too, that's going to take it over $400 million?
Of course. But
they're basically paying over $400 million.
This is the salary. I'm just going to what they're going to be docked. They will be docked, and they'll have to roll over into next year. But that's what they spent this year.
I know.
So, and I love Steph, and we all appreciate everything. But this thing, and I even heard Draymond allude to this, we make so much money for the teams. Dog, the owner has put his money where his mouth. This is not OKC.
Yeah.
This is not where they traded away a guy because they don't want to hit the luxury tax. Heck, Jordan did that with the Charlotte Hornets.
Yeah.
Where he traded away a guy because he didn't want to get over the luxury tax.
Yep.
They spent $382 million on the team this year. And it wasn't even close to being good enough.
And you think Joe Lacob's happy with that?
No.
He's sitting courtside up in Sacramento.
No.
He's sitting courtside. Courtside.
How could you be happy?
I mean, there's got to be changes here. Draymond Green asked how vocal he'll be about bringing Klay back.
Yeah, obviously we want Klay back. We've been through a lot. Incredible highs, some lows. But the common denominator through both of them is that we've gone through each and every scenario together. It's obvious that we want to continue what we've been doing, but I understand he got a decision to make. He's going to make the best decision for him. Team got a decision to make. They'll make the best decision for the team.
More on that situation. Here's Draymond Green.
I don't think there's any scenario where Klay leaves and that's the best decision for this team and organization. But what I don't doubt is if Joe or Mike or anybody felt that it was best that this team moves forward without Klay, that wouldn't be the decision they make because they believe that. They've shown nothing but respect, loyalty, love, trust to us. So I got no reason to go into it like, they're not going to do right by Klay. They did right by me. They've done right by Steph. They've done right by all of us. Klay tore his ACL. They paid him $160 million. So I have no reason to think that our ownership group aren't going to take care of us the way we've taken care of this organization. Like I said, ultimately that decision will be Klay's, but I don't look at it like, they're going to only do what's... There's a lot of organizations that will only do what's best for the organization. This ain't one of them.
So that's Draymond, that's Steph, that's Steve Kerr, that's all the key cogs, and if they run it back, boy, it's it's not going to be a pretty scene out here.
Trey frustrates me so much because, it's like, they've done right by me. Dog, they've bent over backwards for you. Like, he frustrates me because he's a big part of why they are where they're at. He's a big part of it. And his lack of reading the room of how this organization has, you could call it enabling. I say just bent over backwards for him in terms of trying to help the guy out on every level and has backed him over and over and over. He lacks the self-awareness and accountability to realize what he's done to kind of screw up the situation at times.
I think
and no one is saying it's all him.
Yeah,
but he's a big part of it.
But you know what? I do think he realizes what he's done to help put the Warriors in this situation, which is why he's trying to make amends, which is why he's trying to, I don't know. But you're right. I'm looking, man. The last 2 years for Draymond Green has been as frustrating, and it actually starts back to the 1920 season. And it starts back when Kevin Durant leaves, and we know Klay Thompson's out with a torn ACL, and Draymond Green comes back for a 15-win season and admits that, I knew we weren't going to win many games, so I really didn't play hard. And really the opposite should have been, and maybe he did this and we don't know about it, but my thought process was like, boy, you get into these games and you're playing next to a rookie in Jordan Poole, you're playing next to a rookie in Eric Paschall, You got Alan Smiley-Geach getting minutes. You have Marquise Chris. Why not just take 10 threes a game and work on your game? Knowing that Steph, Clay, and now we trade for Andrew Wiggins midway through the season, guess who's going to get wide open shots? I am. Mm-hmm. I'm going to be wide open all the time. So you know what? Let them fly and extend my career by hitting a three consistently. I would tell the Draymond, shoot all threes like he did against the LA Lakers. Go on 5 of 7. Hell, if you go 4 of 10, guess what, Shasky? I'm not a math major, but that's 40%. Yes. And that's a good percentage. He should have worked on his game then. And then you get to play in game. And you get to play a tournament that season, which, you're getting kicked out of games for yelling at James Wiseman on the floor. And we know what happened with that season. And then the whole, I don't get up for games in March, and yada, yada, yada. It's been a roller coaster with Draymond Green the last 5 years on the court, because what he's done on the court has kept him off the court during pivotal points of this season. And then, you get to Jordan Poole in that situation. They're still reeling for that. They're still reeling for that, because I don't know the impact it's had on Andrew Wiggins, who was best friends with Jordan Poole. That locker room dynamic, the youngsters looking at Draymond Green saying, boy, Jordan Poole's our guy. He's got punched. Nothing's happened here. And then we think about this season with the 17 games that he was suspended. It's been a lot with Draymond Green. Does his play, which he still plays at a high level defensively. You saw the play a couple weeks ago against Daniel Gafford. Wow, you step up on Kyrie Irving, you get back, you get the block, you get the steal, you keep possession. He still has that in him. But is his play good enough to overcome everything else that comes with Draymond Green? Is that something that this organization needs to move forward with Draymond Green, knowing that he has 3 more years left on that deal?
Where do you think I stand on that?
I know where you stand on that.
Because I've been on this for a couple years, and I see the 510 texting in right now. Joe, when they win, Draymond's the best, and when they lose, you hate him. Make up your mind. Draymond is a solid player. To me, the juice isn't worth the squeeze anymore. And he could be mad that I say that. That's my opinion. I watch it every night, and he's not a horrible player. No one is saying he's a horrible player. What I'm saying is the totality of the Draymond Green experience is something that I'm ready to opt out of.
It wears out on you.
And I'm exhausted.
But you know what? This happened when we went up to Summer League.
Exactly.
The first day of Summer League, and I told Joe Shasky, in the limo, premier limo, shout out to you. I may need you in a couple weeks. I need to call you, Steve. Not for a limo, just for a car. But I said, I got something cooked up. And this was baked off of Draymond Green sitting down with Kevin Durant. And basically, they're going through the situation that they got involved in. And Draymond basically saying, yeah, that was on Steve and Bob. They blew that situation. They messed that situation up. And we sat back and thought, damn, wait, you're the one who called Kevin Durant a B-word at Staples Center in front of 18,000. What the hell? How's it on Steve and Bob? They didn't know what to do. They suspend you because they're like, we got Kevin Durant miserable, and he's important to this team, very important. We're trying to keep this guy around. And you called him what you called him. You said we're going to win now. You know, win it without him, not get all that. But when you played that on Steve and Bob, we were sitting here constructing 3-team trades, trying to bring in Ben Simmons. So this has been going on for a long, long time.
If you're a young player, right? I mean, you've seen what this culture is like. It's going to be very difficult for a young player. Like you were talking about, who wants to play alongside Steph? Forget the Steph aspect. Just how many young players want to play on a team where, if there are mistakes, there's very little tolerance.
Yeah.
There's a culture of getting screamed at. Obviously, there's some physical stuff. Like, there's just a lot going on, man.
Well,
there's a lot going on. I mean, I don't know. That's why I come back to the same thing. I thought last year was the season, the offseason. If you're going to move off Poole, which I was ready to do as well.
And he was ready to leave.
Fine. Move off Poole, but also move off Draymond. Let's just start fresh, and then give Clay an opportunity. This is what I wanted to do. Give Clay an opportunity, see what the year ends up, and we'll go from there. No one is saying that Draymond can't be productive. He can be. What I'm saying is that this organization has enabled him to a degree that I'm ready to see what they look like without him. Because with him, they're the 10 seed.
Well, not only that, but I also wonder, with him, is this organization still appealing to attract guys to come here and play for this culture? How do other players look at this culture now, 2 years later after the championship? Do they still think this is an appealing place to play? And that's where I was coming back to Steph Curry. I wasn't saying that Steph Curry is not great. Steph Curry is not a problem whatsoever. When it comes to cons on the season, Stephen Curry's not on that list.
No, but his production, I think it speaks to the roster.
Yeah, no doubt. It dipped a little bit. He's got to be great. No matter what the roster looks like, when you get that production from Stephen Curry, it's not going to be good enough to win, especially on this roster.
And he's got to take care of the ball.
We're basically saying the same thing.
Yeah,
fatigue was a problem, but it's baked in. So I'm thinking, but when you come here, it's the Steph Curry cloud, which is a good cloud because Steph's going to endear himself to anybody. He endeared himself to Kevin Durant, said, Kevin, you do you. I'm going to do me. Well, let's win these championships together. Kevin Durant had to tell Steph Curry to be Stephen Curry. That's how open he was to allowing Kevin Durant to come into this club. There was a lot going on there, right? But when you come here, there's also the Draymond Green dimension. And Draymond Green's going to be outspoken in this organization. He's going to speak his piece. I don't know what you do here. I don't know what you do here with that because I don't know how attractive you are to other players outside the NBA. That's what we're getting to here. You're older. You got young guys who are not ready to hit their prime, and you're a 10 seed. How appealing is that? Hell, you may get players saying, you know what, I'd rather go play in Oklahoma City, believe it or not, because I know I have a chance to win. I may go to Dallas with Luka. I may go to Minnesota with Anthony Edwards. I may go to Denver with Nikola Jokic because they're not going anywhere.
But I understand that, I understand the push and pull of the Draymond experience. You don't win anything without Draymond. Well, now we're at the inflection point where you didn't win with him.
You didn't want to play in game.
And this is back-to-back years. This isn't 1 year sample where he, self-sabotaged and got himself suspended for multiple games. This is 2 years in a row and a variety of acts. So to me, it's a CVS report, a receipt of issues of why. If you're going to be the 10 seed, might as well be a cheaper version on the 10 seed.
Listen.
If I'm running it.
Draymond Green has been very important to this organization. He's been very
pivotal. Of course.
And he showed his importance this season when he got back on the floor. They needed Draymond Green. They needed him in the worst way. But moving forward, what is the best course of action to get back to resetting and being the championship contender? Because Joe Lincoln wants to settle for he doesn't want to settle for a 10 seed. He's not settling for a first-round exit, let alone a second-round exit. The guy's trying to hang banners. I know Steve Kerr's trying to hang banners. I know Steph Curry's trying to hang banners. Now, what's the best course of action moving forward to try to get back to hanging banners? It seems like they're a long way away from that. But what are the steps to take